Picture this. You're on a treadmill. You crank up the speed. Your heart's pounding. You're pouring sweat, giving it everything you've got. But you haven't moved an inch. You're stuck in the exact same spot. Now, what if I told you that's how you're living your life? This isn't about the gym. It's about your happiness. There's a name for this feeling, the hedonic treadmill. It's the idea that we all have a kind of baseline happiness. Sure, you get a promotion, you buy that new car, you finally go on that dream vacation, and you get a temporary hit of joy. But sooner or later, that feeling fades. You always drift back to your baseline, leaving you in the same spot, just looking for the next thing to chase. It's a cycle of endless wanting that's baked into the very heart of modern life. And frankly, it's making us miserable. We've become experts at wanting more, just moments after getting the very thing we thought would finally make us happy. But what if the whole way we've been taught to think about happiness is wrong? What if the finish line we're all sprinting towards is just a mirage? 2,000 years ago, two Greek philosophers went to war over this very question. Their debate wasn't some stuffy academic exercise. It was a battle for the soul of human joy. And understanding their fight is the key to getting off that treadmill for good. First up, let's talk about Epicurus. Now, when you hear his name, you probably think of Epicurean delights, fancy feasts, wild parties, and over-the-top indulgence. That's what his name has come to mean, but the real philosophy of Epicurus was pretty much the exact opposite. Epicurus absolutely believed that happiness was about pursuing pleasure, a concept called hedonism. But he wasn't talking about the short, intense rush of pleasure we chase today. For Epicurus, the highest pleasure was a state he called ataraxia, a feeling of deep inner tranquility, a freedom from pain, fear, and worry. It wasn't about adding more excitement to your life. It was about subtracting the things that cause you stress. He even had a system for it, a kind of 4-part cure for the unhappy soul. First, don't fear gods. He figured they had better things to do than meddle in our lives. Second, don't worry about death. Since you won't be around to experience it, it's nothing to you. These two ideas alone were meant to wipe out our biggest sources of existential dread. But his next 2 points are where it gets really practical for us. He taught his followers to get smart about their desires. There are natural and necessary desires, like food, shelter, and friends. These, he said, are the ones to focus on because they're easy to satisfy and bring real, lasting contentment. Then there are natural but unnecessary desires, think fancy food or a huge house. These are okay once in a while, but they aren't essential. The trouble is, we get obsessed with them, and the stress of getting them starts to outweigh the actual pleasure they bring. And finally, you have the vain and empty desires, fame, unlimited wealth, and power. Epicurus was crystal clear on this. Avoid these at all costs. Why? Because they have no finish line. The person obsessed with money will always want more. The person who craves fame will always need another round of applause. Chasing these is a guaranteed recipe for a life of anxiety. So, the Epicurean path to happiness wasn't a rager. It was a quiet, simple life. He started a community called The Garden, where he and his friends lived, sharing what they had and focusing on what he called the greatest pleasure of all, friendship. For Epicurus, a calm mind, a healthy body, and a small circle of good friends were the only ingredients you needed. It's all about finding joy in what is simple, sustainable, and already within your grasp. Now, for our second contender, Aristotle. If Epicurus's goal was tranquility, Aristotle was aiming for something much bigger, much richer. He had a different word for true happiness, eudaimonia. This word is famously tricky to translate. Happiness just doesn't cover it because eudaimonia isn't a feeling you get, like that buzz from a new phone. The best translation is probably flourishing or living well and doing well. Think of a great tree. A flourishing tree isn't just a tree that's not dead. It's one that's growing strong, reaching its full potential, and thriving. For Aristotle, eudaimonia is the human version of that. So, how do you get it? Aristotle said it's not about how you feel, but about what you do. He believed that everything in the universe has a purpose or function, what he called a telos. The telos of a knife is to cut. A good knife cuts well. The telos of an eye is to see. A good eye sees well. So he asked, what is the unique function of a human? What makes us special? His answer was our ability to reason. Therefore, for Aristotle, the good life, the flourishing life, is a life spent using our reason to its fullest potential. And the way we do that is by living a life of virtue. Now, virtue can sound a little stuffy, but for Aristotle, it was all about finding the perfect balance, the mean between two extremes. For example, between the extreme of cowardice and the extreme of recklessness, you find the virtue of courage. Between being a doormat and being a hothead lies the virtue of proper self-respect. Living a virtuous life isn't a one-time decision. It takes practice, good habits, and what he called practical wisdom to figure out the right way to act in any given situation. It's a lifelong project of becoming the best version of yourself. For Aristotle, real happiness isn't something you find, it's something you build day by day through your actions. It's the deep, lasting satisfaction that comes from a life of purpose, character, and personal growth. It's not about feeling good, it's about being good. So here we are with two powerful blueprints for a good life. Epicurus offers us a life of simple pleasures and peace of mind. Aristotle offers a life of challenge, purpose, and self-mastery. Both agreed that friendship and character were non-negotiable, but their core ideas pull us in very different directions. To figure that out, let's see how their ideas hold up in the modern world. Let's start with Epicurus. On the surface, his advice has never been more relevant. In a world of chronic stress and burnout, who wouldn't sign up for more tranquility? His warnings against chasing fame and fortune seem like the perfect medicine for our social media-driven, consumerist society. But here's the catch. We've accidentally created a twisted, funhouse mirror version of his philosophy. We grabbed the pursuit of pleasure part and completely ignored the warnings about moderation and avoiding anxiety. Modern marketing is basically a machine built to create vain and empty desires and trick you into thinking they're natural and necessary. You're not just buying a car, you're buying freedom. You're not just buying a watch, you're buying status. We're constantly sold the lie that the next purchase will be the one. This is the hedonic treadmill, and we're sprinting on it. We chase these intense, fleeting hits of pleasure, thinking it's the Epicurean way, but it's actually creating the exact anxiety he told us to avoid. We're left with the hollowness of wanting, not the peace of satisfaction. Now let's look at Aristotle's eudaimonia. His path is harder, no doubt about it. Living a life of virtue, purpose, and constant improvement is a much bigger ask than just managing your desires. It forces you to ask huge questions. What's my purpose? What does it mean for me to be a good person? How can I be better tomorrow than I was today? And this is where the real fight for our happiness is. The modern world promises happiness through consumption, the easy path of that fake, corrupted Epicureanism. Buy this, watch this, get this, and you will feel good. It's passive, it's instant, and it's a trap. Aristotle's path offers something completely different. It's not a feeling you can purchase. It's a state of being you have to earn. Think of it this way. The happiness the world sells is like a sugar rush. It's intense and sweet, but it's always followed by a crash that leaves you needing another fix. Eudaimonia, on the other hand, is like the satisfaction of building a house with your own two hands. It's hard work. It's slow. There will be setbacks, but you are actively creating something strong, meaningful, and real. The joy isn't just in having the house. It's in the act of building it. It's a deep sense of fulfillment that a bad day or a rotten mood can't touch. So, in this fight for your happiness, who wins? While the promise of Epicurean tranquility is incredibly appealing, I believe Aristotle gives us the stronger, more resilient, and ultimately more fulfilling path to a good life. Here's why. The pursuit of pleasure, even the calm, simple kind Epicurus championed, is still focused on an internal feeling. And feelings are fickle. They get tossed around by events completely outside our control. But a life built on virtue, purpose, and meaning, a life of eudaimonia, is different. It's a foundation. It's a source of self-worth that comes from your own actions and your own character. It gives you a why to live for, which makes almost any how bearable. Living a virtuous life doesn't mean you won't feel pleasure. In fact, Aristotle thought pleasure naturally follows from living well. But it's a side effect, not the goal. The goal is to flourish. The goal is to build a life you're genuinely proud of. This is why the ancient Greeks, or at least the philosophers among them, might have had a leg up on us. They weren't as distracted by the endless treadmill of empty desires. They were busy with a much deeper, more important project. The project of building a good character and a meaningful life. So, how do you actually get off the treadmill? You start by changing the question. Stop asking, what will make me feel good? Start asking, what kind of person do I want to be? What would a meaningful life look like for me? This isn't about giving up pleasure. It's about putting it in its proper place. It's about building the house first and then enjoying its warmth instead of just chasing fleeting sparks from a fire that's about to burn out. So here's a challenge. Just for today, think of one small, virtuous action you can take. Maybe it's having that honest conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's dedicating 1 hour to a skill you want to build. Maybe it's helping someone without any thought of getting something in return. These are the bricks that build a flourishing life. And with every single brick you lay, you're not just running in place. You're building something real. You're building your own happiness. Thank you for watching. You've just joined the Renaissance Spirit, a channel dedicated to a just, equitable, and humanitarian world. Here, we explore history, politics, culture, religion, personal growth, and the lessons of civilization from ancient Rome to modern America. We believe the Renaissance isn't over. It's waiting inside anyone who chooses curiosity, courage, and conscience. Living the Renaissance spirit means engaging with history as a dialogue, not just with the past, but with the future. Our work is a message to posterity. Will they inherit justice and wisdom? Or wonder why we failed to act? Subscribe, turn on notifications, and take our Renaissance quiz to see if you carry the spark. Because if history is collapsing in real time, someone has to narrate the fall and plant the seeds of what comes after. Live the Renaissance spirit. History has not died, only our understanding of it.